Jai Hind, Jai Bharat, and welcome to Dev Talks. This is Aadi Achint. As you can see, I have with me Lieutenant General Ravi Shankar, जो आज हमको थोड़ा सा इंटरेस्टिंग सब्जेक्ट बताएंगे कि भाई आर वी गेटिंग प्री ऑब्सेस्ड. हमारा जो सारा गेम है पाकिस्तान सेंट्रिक है कि हम लोग चाइना को देखना कभी कभार भूल जाते हैं. On Dev Talks,
Mm.
we've been focusing on China, but generally speaking, most of our people like to talk about Pakistan. Sir, good evening and welcome. Do you agree, sir?
गुड इवनिंग आदि और आपसे सहमत हूँ मैं. कुछ दिन पहले जनरल मेनन प्रकाश मेनन जो एमडीसी के कमांडेंट थे, उन्होंने एक लिखा एक वाक्य साइलेंट ऑन चाइना एंड वोसिफरस ऑन पाकिस्तान. तो वो हालत है आज का. राइट. खैर, उसके बारे में मैं बाद में बात करूंगा आपसे. सबसे पहले आई वांट टू टेल एवरीवन ऑन दिस चैनल दैट आई एम थैंकफुल टू आदि
Yes, sir.
that he came on gunner shot and just starting out, and just put that on Adi if you don't
A
mind.
very
That we
interesting video, sir, I must say.
so we I put this out, military technologies of the century, understanding fundamentals with Adi. We had a great conversation on military technology, right? And we just put out that video. I'd request everyone to have a look at it, and if you want to subscribe to this channel, because what we're going to do in this channel is go. Yeah, we can take it off. I think that's more than enough. We're going to discuss with the best experts in the country slowly. I won't say the best experts, uh, the most knowledgeable experts who can apply all these technologies in the military domain, and one by one. And hopefully by Saturday, I should have the next edition on this out on cyber security or cyber warfare or cyber defense, whichever way you call it, right? And then we'll take on energy, we'll take on AI and things like that. But then, since we've spoken of AI, let's get back to the artificial intelligence part of Pakistan. वापस पाकिस्तान में चलते हैं और पाकिस्तान और
पाकिस्तान में
चाइना.
इट्स सो आयरॉनिकल सर, हम भी वहीं पे घुस रहे हैं जाके. वी आर टेलिंग
नहीं,
पीपल कि भाई मत करो ये,
नहीं,
और हम भी वही बात कर रहे हैं एट द एंड ऑफ
ये
इट.
थोड़ा साइड डालो फोटो, तब ठीक होगा.
हाँ सर, मेन थिंग सर व्हिच आई वांट टू स्टार्ट, सबसे पहले तो एक चीज मैंने नोटिस करी है सर. सबसे पहले जो पाकिस्तान में एक छोटी सी चीज होती है, ऑफ कोर्स जो पेशावर में ब्लास्ट हुआ इज नॉट अ स्मॉल थिंग, इट्स अ वेरी बिग थिंग and needs to be analyzed, there's no question, but generally speaking अभी IMF ने पाकिस्तान को बोल दिया भाई पैसे नहीं देंगे, और इंडिया में शो बनने शुरू हो जाते हैं, people start talking about it, but nobody talks about चाइना में जो हालत खराब हो रखी है इस टाइम पे इकोनॉमी की, एंड यूएस ने एक्स्ट्रा बेस ले लिया है फिलीपींस में. इतना कुछ हो रहा है इंडो पैसिफिक के अंदर, कोई बात नहीं करता उसके बारे में. व्हाई इज दैट सर? व्हाट इज दिस ऑब्सेशन विद पाकिस्तान दैट वी गॉट?
यार, ये तो मेरे को पता नहीं, पर आज जो खबर आया है वो बेस इन फिलीपींस. पिछले हफ्ते ही हमने बात किया था इसके बारे में, सिविक बे के बारे में, है ना? याद है तो आपको?
दैट्स व्हाई आई हैव टू टेक दिस अप.
हाँ. uh, you know, this is something to do with our obsession with Pakistan. You know, uh, I mean, let's put it in this thing. Obsession maybe is too strong a word. A bias towards Pakistan. After all, we've had 3 wars with Pakistan. We've had a long proxy war with Pakistan. We've had a less than war or a war, a fourth war, that is Kargil with Pakistan. We broke Pakistan. Pakistan has troubled us the most in the past 75 years. It has threatened us the most in the past 75 years. And uh, a lot of people from the north have still have affiliations with people across. Okay. I mean, look at it from a human point of view. You have a Sania Mirza who's married to that cricketer there, Shoaib Malik है ना, उसका नाम क्या है वो?
शोएब
वो
मलिक, हाँ.
Shoaib Malik है, जो भी है. So he's married. You don't find Sania Mirza marrying to Xi Jinping's lady nephew or someone, no? You don't have that kind of that equation. So the bias is there, whether you call it the Islamic bias or the ethnic bias or the old Hindustani bias, it's there. So, and the fact this thing, so it's only natural, and a lot of a generation of Indian strategists and military men and people have grown up uh, through the prism of Pakistan. Their
Hmm.
thinking is Pakistan. Their thinking is Pakistan. Many of my contemporaries think Pakistan. उनको पाकिस्तान और कश्मीर से बाहर निकालो तो टप है, because it's blinkered. You're blinkered onto Pakistan, and let's look at it. Let's be fair to them. Pakistan was a real menace for us. After all, they carried out an attack on the
Parliament.
parliament.
Hmm.
In fact, that I think is the worst of the lot,
Absolutely.
right? So you'll have to give me 1 minute, Adi. I'll come get back. So I'm
Yeah,
putting
yeah,
my
sure, sir.
yeah 1 minute. Huh?
Yeah, yeah. By the time sir does that, guys, people who have joined in and people who are going to be seeing this video, please press the like button. It's very important. The last few videos, you guys have been really helping me out by pressing the like button. Some of the videos have gone cross 300 likes, and I really, really appreciate that. Please press the like button. And I have a big announcement, guys, for those of you who have not noticed. Dev Talks has crossed 10,000 followers. It's been a long journey because क्या है कि डेफ टॉक्स में थोड़ा सा सीरियस बातें होती हैं, मसाला वसाला हम कम ही बेचते हैं, तो लोगों को ज़्यादा इतना पसंद प्रोबेबली नहीं आता बिकॉज मसाला थोड़ा कम है, सीरियस बातें हैं, थोड़ा दिमाग लगाना पड़ता है. बट इन एनी वेज आई एम सो प्राउड ऑफ द कम्युनिटी दैट हमारे पास जो है एंड पीपल हु आर देयर विद डेफ टॉक्स. जनरल सर हैज बीन इन्वॉल्वड इन डेफ टॉक्स राइट फ्रॉम द बिगिनिंग. सर के साथ तो मेरे काफी इंटरव्यूज हैं. वी हैव कवर्ड प्रीटी मच all the topics that they are under the sun and more. और भी आएंगे आगे. But guys, it is very 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 important that आप लोग please like करिए. यहाँ पर QR code है ऊपर. If you want to support Dev Talks, that's the way to do it. And of course you can become members and you can send us super stickers and super chats. Thank you so much, sir. You're back.
Yeah. So I was talking to you about Pakistan, and so the history of see, of all actions which Pakistan took, I think the most critical one was the one attack on the parliament. It attacked the citadel of our democracy,
Hmm.
and we can't forget it. So there is
Absolutely.
a huge, yeah, and they created a lot of problems, and they're a tough opponent, uh, right, and a very violent kind of a nation, and they are our neighbors. Unlike China, the actual Chinese, the Han Chinese are not our neighbors. You have a whole lot of Tibet in between. We don't have any this thing. But whereas with these people, it's historic, and they have they're a vengeful lot. They want revenge against us, especially the army. It's a very strange country. We all know that. I'm only reiterating, and hence a lot of our people were focused in Pakistan.
Hmm.
And when these people were focused towards Pakistan, it was to the exclusion of China, because at that time China was not our enemy really in the true sense, or an adversary in the true sense. So a lot of people don't know anything other than Pakistan. Okay, it's only the past say 10-15 years that China has started becoming our adversary.
That वो थोड़ा recent phenomenon है sir. हाँ
Recent
जी.
phenomenon है. So people who don't know China, who don't know the history of China, uh, they shy away from China. Okay, that's why you will find within our establishment also, there are hardly a few guys who talk China.
बहुत कम है. हाँ
Maybe
जी.
Srikant Kandupalli, Brahmachalani, Rajmohan.
MD
I mean, I can
Nalapad.
count. uh, Not even Nalapat. Yeah, he talks of non-military, non-strategic affairs, but he does. So there are very few people who really understand China and talk China. Okay, there are a lot of people who've been used by China, who talk China, who talk China's Chinese
For China.
for China. Okay, those chaps are not no good. So you don't have the effective think tank ability against China is less. So you don't find that thing. I mean, I was lucky because very early I started learning about China way back in the 90, 91. I did my first thesis on China, and from then I have been reading China. I had exposure on roads. I was very lucky. So when I speak to people who are absolutely park centric, okay, I find that they don't have this visualization of what China, and they're absolutely park obsessed. So, and if you see in the past, say, 4 5 years, park's strategic importance and threat to India has been falling.
Hmm.
India has started to look beyond Pakistan, and we have had to orient towards China, and especially after the Doklam and all that, right? So, बहुत दिन के बाद थोड़ा पाकिस्तान में कलबली मचा है. ये ब्रेक डाउन हो रहा है, ये हो रहा है, वो है. So, a lot of scenarios are being painted. All these chaps who are those park experts, their comfort zone is back. Suddenly, suddenly the TV channels want them. Suddenly, the WhatsApp is buzzing. Oh, the channel. Oh, then there are these, you know, zealots. I call them zealots. ओ पीओ के वापस ले लो, पाकिस्तान तो छोड़ दो, ये वो है यार. तुम
मौका
अपना
है, मोदी सरकार क्यों नहीं कुछ कर रही, अभी जाके ले
हाँ,
लो.
ले लो. हाँ, ये देर वो ब्रिगेड भी है. ठीक है, द शाउटिंग ब्रिगेड. दे आर द क्या सोशल मीडिया ब्रिगेड. करना करना है ही नहीं, गांव में बैठे रहो, ये एक वीडियो आउट कर लो कि वो पाकिस्तान लेना है.
चीप
वो
पब्लिसिटी.
हाँ हाँ, फ्री पब्लिसिटी. इट्स अ पॉलिटिकल गेम देर. So Mocha, and they're playing on the sentiment of people for political purposes. Okay, they couldn't get a damn if a soldier dies on the front line. They just want POK back without realizing the consequences of either even thinking like that or doing that. So you have this trend line which has come. So मेरा राय ये है, बड़ा क्लियर है कि it's time we stop thinking of Pakistan the way we are thinking of Pakistan. And it's time we focus here on China. I mean, आप देखिए. Okay, I'll flip the question. What do you see is the relative future of China and Pakistan as an adversary to India? I'm not talking about power, as an adversary. Let me ask you this question.
Together or separately, sir?
Whichever way you want to talk.
Well, together is a big question, sir.
नहीं,
पहले भी try.
together मतलब वो forget it.
हाँ, वो collusive
That
threat वो
era
तो अलग है.
of collusive threat is over
Hmm.
independently. Okay, which is the way. I mean, how do you assess it? How do you react? That's the point.
Pakistan will be an irritant, sir. I mean, they will continue doing what they're doing. क्योंकि वो ये छोटे छोटे टेररिस्ट इंसिडेंट्स जो होते हैं, छोटे तो नहीं, एनी टेररिस्ट इंसिडेंट इज अ बिग वन. इंडिया में ये कश्मीर में समथिंग दिस दैट ये वो दिस दे विल कंटिन्यू डूइंग. बियॉन्ड दैट आई डोंट थिंक दे हैव एनी स्ट्रेटेजिक रेलेवेंस एज पर से. हाँ, थोड़ा सा इधर उधर they'll keep raising voice. You'll have them being used by a lot of people to do a lot of things. तो वो सब चलता रहेगा. That all will be there. But the main issue is China, sir. But Chinese power to fight, as we've spoken in this channel many times, sir, is a big question. Having said that, a frustrated China is also a dangerous China.
Yeah.
So आज जो situation China में है, it's a frustrating situation because China never thought that वो इस जगह पे बैठा होगा कि it'll be weakened. People will be calling its economy half, debt to GDP ratio gone, COVID ने पिटाई कर रखी है. As you mentioned, that arc is closed. China's
Mm.
Pacific dreams are pretty much. So there's going to be frustration, sir.
So, what comes out of it is Pakistan is virtually a receding threat and a fast receding threat. Like you said, it could be an irritant. There will be clashes. I mean, when I say clashes, there will be small chutputs. But Pakistan will not come out of its debt trap. their eastern, their western front along the Durand line is going to go down. Their agriculture is not going to improve. पानी है ही नहीं इनके पास. Climate change का असर बढ़ता जाएगा, आबादी बढ़ता जाएगा, आमदनी घटता जाएगा, एक्सपोर्ट्स घटते जाएंगे, एग्रीकल्चर ठप होता जाएगा इनका. ये they will find new depths and they'll be internally uh, focused. इनका पॉलिटिक्स का हालत और भी कस्ता होता जाएगा. तो ऐसे में हम इस देश को देके भी क्यों, वही करने दो उनको जो करना है, अपना मर्जी. उनको क्या राहत पहुंचाना है हमें, हमें क्या, कौन सा इन्होंने कुछ किया. अगर गड़बड़ है तो गड़बड़ है. एक पाकिस्तान है तो ठीक है, 5 पाकिस्तान है तो ठीक है, 10 पाकिस्तान भी हो गए तो ठीक है, ना भी रहे ठीक है, हाँ भी रहे तो ठीक है, कुछ फर्क नहीं पड़ता हमें. राइट. जहां तक चाइना का सवाल है, चाइना के साथ जो मुद्दे हैं वो बहुत सीरियस मुद्दे हैं. ये बाकी सब छोड़ो आप, सिक्योरिटी वगैरह. आज के दिन एक एप्पल एप्पल ही देख लीजिए, एप्पल कंपनी, वो तकरीबन मेरे ख्याल में अभी वो उन्होंने ये डिसाइड कर लिया कि 50% अपना फैक्ट्री जो है, जितना जो चाइना में है, वो निकाल के इंडिया में लगाएंगे. अगर एप्पल ने लगा दिया, दूसरा सैमसंग आ जाएगा, फिर डेल आ जाएगा, कुछ और, आज फाइजर आ जाएगा, कुछ और निकलेंगे. और निकलेंगे तो जाएंगे कहाँ? वो वियतनाम थोड़ी ना जाएंगे. वियतनाम का क्षमता कम है. बांग्लादेश का क्या कम, या इंडोनेशिया के पास क्षमता नहीं है. वो आएंगे तो इंडिया. ये अगर आपको याद है तो हमने इसके बारे में बात किया कब. We spoke of this 2 years back that they have to come to India. They have no choice. So if that is the case, very clearly, India is going to grow at China's expense as the Chinese see it. And this is how the Chinese see it.
Yeah.
The Chinese see India growing at China's expense. We are already number one in population, younger population, more capable. Their older population, less capable. They are also getting frustrated that they can't make any headway against our army. If they try to make headway against army, their own army gets exposed. They're trying to get into Indian Ocean. They're trying to get into breach the LAC. They're trying to get the scare back. In that, they are the greatest thing. Like you said, they are in a frustrated kind of a situation. We spoke only 2 days back that the Indo-Pacific is heated up completely, right? And yesterday I saw an article in Foreign Affairs which exactly said what we said.
I read that, yes, sir.
Okay. I mean, I'd like you to put it out. When did that come out and when did we speak what we spoke? They are not, you see, I mean, what I'm trying to put across to all our viewers is our analysis is pretty international class. Whatever we have said has come correct, irrespective of what others have said. And in the same way, China is in a mess. So what will China do? But China has not lost its ambition. Actually, in the past 1 week, if you analyze South China Morning Post, the amount of articles which are coming out about increase of China's military prowess is phenomenal.
22 Coast Guard ships today, sir.
Yeah. I mean, right. So, there are a lot of issues. Right? There are a lot of issues.
There's a hell of a lot, sir. This is something that we need to understand. And जो हमारे एक ही प्रॉब्लम है सर कि हम लोग ना, I think of it like this, sir. We've got too deep into Pakistani politics. क्या है ना सर? Now we want to know, यार शहबाज शरीफ ने इमरान खान को क्या बोला? As if it is now.
कुछ भी बोले, हमें क्या लेना?
हाँ, अभी वो क्या हो गया सर? Every little thing, we all want to be at top of that game. मेरा एक ही वो चक्कर है यार, लेट्स बी ऑन टॉप ऑफ द गेम विद चाइना, बिकॉज दैट्स वेयर द प्रॉब्लम इज. Pakistan today has survived this long is because on China's back. Let's agree to that, sir. I
See,
mean,
we have not only China to worry about, we also have to worry about our neighborhood. श्रीलंका में क्या हो रहा है,
mhm.
म्यांमार में क्या हो रहा है, बांग्लादेश में क्या, नेपाल में क्या हो रहा है? वो तो माओविस्ट आ गए हैं, और आपको खतरा है नेपाल में।
Yeah.
आप हाल ही में भूटान और
China negotiations.
चाइना ने वो डिस्कशन किया और उन्होंने बोल दिया कि हम सुलह कर लेंगे। अगर वो कुछ सुलह कर लें जो आपको ठीक नहीं, तो आप कहाँ रह जाओगे? पाकिस्तान में। ये नहीं होना चाहिए कि आप लुक लंदन और हो सी टोक्यो।
Hmm.
आपका नजर इधर है, कुछ हो रहा है उधर। आप बड़ा क्लियर होना चाहिए, आपका इंडियन ओशन में खतरा है, योर आइलैंड टेरिटरीज अंडर प्रॉब्लम, राइट? So I think we have to, as a nation, say enough is enough with Pakistan. भाई जो करना है कर लो। What is your problem? आज 2 तारीख है, एक हफ्ता पहले तो आपने जाके वहां लाल चौक में तिरंगा खड़ा किया है। वहां खतरा क्या है अभी?
कोई खतरा नहीं है सर। पिछले 4 साल
भाई
से वहां वो लगा रहे हैं।
वहां देखिए
नो
जो
खतरा।
आज जो आज आप बोल रहे हो JNK में टेररिज्म है, उतना गुंडागर्दी तो चेन्नई में होता है। बाकी
डोमेस्टिक
इसमें
प्रॉब्लम सर, हर जगह होता है।
हाँ ये होता है, होने दो, वो तो हम संभाल लेंगे। गुंडागर्दी, दहशतगर्दी, ये तो नॉर्मल है इंडिया में, है ना? क्या ये माओविस्ट प्रॉब्लम नहीं है आपके पास? नक्सल प्रॉब्लम नहीं है ये सेंट्रल इंडिया में? तो इसको हम निपट सकते हैं, और पाकिस्तान के साथ बोलने के लिए भी जरूरत नहीं है। And we have to realize that you have given them a terrific political blow by scrapping Article 370. वो इससे उबर के आ नहीं सकते, क्योंकि इनके पास वो पॉलिटिकल शक्ति नहीं है इससे उबर आ सकता। ये कश्मीरियों को भी पता है, राइट? तो मेरे ख्याल में मेरे कोई दो राय नहीं है कि हमारा नजर चाइना के ऊपर टिक के रहना चाहिए और पाकिस्तान के ऊपर कम। हाँ, बात यह है कि जिनको वो ये ट्रैक 2 ट्रैक 3 में बात करते रहते हैं, वो तो चाहेंगे ये बात चलाने के लिए, क्यों? उनको तो वो एक फ्री ट्रिप मिलेगा दुबई तक। साफ बता रहा हूं मैं, ये करते क्या है दुबई में जाके? कुछ नहीं, बातचीत करके और वापस आ जाते हैं, उसका कोई परिणाम तो निकलता नहीं है, राइट? तो ये है हमारा राय। आप बताइए, आगे सवाल ले या?
हाँ सर, एक छोटा सा और चीज ऐड करना था चाइना की तरफ से सर। वन थिंग जो मिसनोमर है सर, कि चाइना को यार स्टडी करना बड़ा डिफिकल्ट है, चाइनीज लैंग्वेज नहीं है, चाइना के अंदर फायर वॉल है, उसमें न्यूज़पेपर पढ़ के कुछ मिलता नहीं है, चाइना का न्यूज तो एकदम गवर्नमेंट कंट्रोल्ड है। दिस इज अ आई मीन ऑल्दो ऑल दिस जो व्हाटएवर आई एम सेइंग इज एब्सोल्युटली करेक्ट सर, बट उसके बीच में एक बड़ा बट है कि यू कैन स्टिल फाइंड आउट व्हाट्स हैपनिंग इन चाइना, क्योंकि चाइनीज खुद बोलते हैं।
देखिए, मेरा अंदाजा ये है कि China has a firewall. It has got all these problems. I agree. But the fact is that there is enough coming out of China where you can read China.
Yeah.
It is not as if things are not absolutely opaque. And the more you read, the more you will get. And the more you want to get, the more you will get. Okay? And बहुत time, even a silence is a communication. It confirms or rejects a theory.
चाइना में थोड़ा सा दिमाग लगाना पड़ता है. पाकिस्तान इज इजी टू अंडरस्टैंड.
पाकिस्तान तो वो बोल लेते हैं बेवकूफों की तरह सब, वो एक कोई घटना हुआ तो आपको 1000 आवाज निकल के आएंगे, वहां आएगा वो उधर से. चाइना में ऐसे नहीं है, आपको थोड़ा ध्यान देना पड़ेगा.
हैव टू डिग अ लिटिल बिट. हाँ जी.
डिग अ लिटिल. जैसे मैंने ये जो आज ये घना शॉट चैनल शुरू किया है, पीक इनटू एवरीडे चाइना, राइट. वो 2 दिन पहले मैंने इंटरनेशनल हेडविंड्स यानी कि ये साउथ चाइना सी का इर्द गिर्द का प्रॉब्लम्स के बारे में जिक्र किया था. ठीक है, कुछ दिन पहले मैंने बोला था उनका इंडिया के बारे में क्या सोचते हैं वो लिखा था. कल या परसों उनके प्रॉपर्टी के प्रॉब्लम्स के बारे में मैं जिक्र करना चाहता हूँ. जब तक आप चाइना को बारीकी से पढ़ेंगे नहीं, सोचेंगे नहीं, सुनेंगे नहीं उनके बारे में, राइट, और लिखेंगे नहीं उसके बारे में, आपको कैसे पता है कि क्या हो रहा है वहां. और आपको अगर पता नहीं है उनके समाज में क्या हो रहा है, उनका अर्थव्यवस्था में क्या हो रहा है, वो बाकी सब कुछ किसी में भी क्या हो रहा है या नहीं हो रहा है, हाउ विल यू हैंडल चाइना. See, I'll give you one guy. He gave a comment. Yes, army people should talk of military and whoa. I don't know why you're talking of geopolitics. I didn't give him a shut up call, but I give it a pass. But the fact is that to do anything with China, whether it's military or non-military, you have to study China.
Mhm.
And if you don't put your focus on study on China, you're gonna miss it.
They are studying
And
us.
they are studying you. If you waste your time studying Pakistan and you miss out on China, and this is like you said, why it's important not to take your focus away from China at this point of time, because China itself is unstable, very unstable. So there is no choice for us actually, right?
Indeed, sir.
So I have no doubt in my mind that today what is happening in India at this point of time, excessive focus on Pakistan has to retract. That is why I wrote this article today, which you also spoke of. Okay, and a lot of people in or the strategic community. Well, a lot of people like said you're saying the right thing, but many of them have said, "Hey, why are you writing this?" I said, "Look, let's look at China. Why continue to look at this Pakistan?"
The last thing I'd say, and before I get into the questions, sir, why should I compare myself to a small little country?
Yeah,
Let's
yeah,
compare
yeah.
to a big one
Same,
so
same.
that we get to that point, and then we'll compare
Then we'll
ourselves
talk
to the
about
higher
it.
one. So,
Yeah,
I mean, and we are comparing ourselves and with no, China affinity as per se. I'm not trying to show China is a great country. It is not. But we are still comparing ourselves with the second largest economy in the world.
yeah.
Okay. And the second largest economy in the world doesn't want to take straight pangas with us today. So
Yes,
there is there is
there is a
something
lot
to.
of logic in what. Yeah,
Sir, sorry, you saying?
yeah. No, there's a lot of logic in what you're saying.
So, I mean, we need to look up rather than look down.
Lockdown, yeah.
कल को आप बोलोगे यार नेपाल के साथ कंपैरिजन कर लेते हैं अपना.
Yeah.
I mean, no disregard to Nepal. Nepal is a great, beautiful country, but economically and this and that, there's two different things.
Yeah.
They're equal to us as a country, but
No, and you leave
use
that
this.
out. Let's look at Pakistan only. Why waste time with them?
Yeah. And Pakistan is not that difficult to understand. एक दो थोड़ा पढ़ लो पता चल जाता है क्या हो रहा
ये
है.
अब
You can
क्या
predict ये
होगा
होने
उधर?
वाला है यहाँ पर.
I
Until
mean,
and
you
unless
can.
Pakistan digs and finds gold, there is not going to be much happening there.
Yeah.
So that is true. Asim Munir can keep doing what he wants to, and Shahbaz Sharif can say what he wants to, but
Hmm. No, no,
let's get
I
into it,
agree
sir.
with you. Yeah.
Naveen Saab, thank you so much. Nice to see you back after a while for this contribution. Similar case on how US is still obsessed with Russia at the cost of China. Plus, in case of India, we are still interested in trumping up India's rise with regards to Pakistan, while a comparison with China is complicated.
Well, Naveen, to some extent I agree, and some extent I don't agree with you at all. For the simple reason, there's a value. China has. Sorry. USA has gone to tackle Russia with a particular a strategy, and it is not as if Russia is like Pakistan. Russia is
No.
still a power. And
Yeah.
if you go into the history, the cyber war which is going on and all, Russia US cyber war is
Huge.
troublesome for US. So I'd leave that out. Okay. But as far as we are concerned, our relationship with China is very complicated. But it is not again the equation between Pakistan and India. We are far closer now than to China than what it was. You leave the actual GDP out of the equation. Okay, things are not so bad with us. I have never, in fact, when did I ever say that because of China's huge GDP that we can't compete with them? I've been saying this from day one that Adi and I got together. This is when these fellows were still in Eastern Ladakh. At that time I had predicted they'll kick them out in a matter of time. Okay, at that time I had
We had
predicted
also
that
said Tawang, sir. We had also
Tawang,
said at that time, Tawang,
yeah.
be careful.
At that time also we had said that the economy will go down. At that time it also we said that what this virus will screw them. It's screwing them. So I'm very clear on this. The We have to focus on China with confidence.
China
Yeah.
looks at Spencer. Again, thank you so much, Naveen. General sir, how would you compare how much China is discussed, especially especially strategically in India versus India in China?
Look,
That's
till recently, Chinese didn't bother about India. Let's be very frank. If you heard the commentary during the Eastern Ladakh crisis, they said, "Why is India taking panga with China?" That was the
we
tone.
will
We'll
crush you.
sort them out. We'll crush you with this, that, yeah, wo. After 6 months, they found nothing could happen. They backtracked and the talk died. And then the first reaction from them was during our second wave. And that reaction told us that they're worried. It was, well, the way they mocked at us indicated they're worried about us.
Yeah.
Okay? Now that they're definitely worried. They're
If
definitely
fire is
worried
up,
because look, there is no other country which can hurt them or which is hurting them the way India is hurting them.
exactly.
You're hurting them economically, you're hurting them strategically. Okay? They know that if they have to enter Indian Ocean, they have to overcome India. Okay? So there is a problem for China. So China is no more talking of India lightly. If you see the spike in the reporting in South China Morning Post, it's astounding. Everything which they can drag you down will be there. Even this Adani
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
EPFO is covered in headlines there.
First big
Yeah.
one.
Okay. So let's be very clear there. And they also put out an article which says in the forthcoming times we see more clashes between PLA and India along the border.
Eastern Ladakh, yes,
We
sir.
should be very clear where we are. Yeah.
That is interesting, sir, because that tells you that they are now looking at India as an adversary,
Adversary.
which is a. I'm not saying I'm proud of it, but
No,
it
but
is.
that's a fact. We have to be careful about our way we think about.
Yeah, yeah,
Let's
yeah,
stop thinking of Pakistan. Let's start focusing on China.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a very. I know. Before I get into this, I just want to mention it's a very interesting scenario. Why? Because somewhere down the line, and this was a small little line that I had written at the bottom, कि हमारा जो over obsession is that a Chinese trap itself?
No, it's not because I think today the
Although that
links
was a joke,
between
I just wrote it like that.
the links between Pakistan and China are not that strong as they were. Okay, They're both having their own problems, so they're not that mutual back patting has gone down the drain. So
Hmm.
the any vestige of collusion is a little over the horizon today. It can reappear in time. That's a different story. But at this point of time, I don't think they can.
There
Yeah,
is of course, there are a lot of tactical questions about Pakistan and China, which people are talking about particular situations. Let's just run through them. Short comments, sir. Uh, and then there are questions about the factor that we are talking about. I guess initially the comments that came in, the subject was a little different at that time. Conspiracy in Pakistan, the Peshawar attack wasn't suicide attack, but a rocket attack by KPK police.
let them do sort it out on their own. हमें क्या लेना देना है?
नहीं, पाकिस्तान has put out है वो पुलिस वाले यूनिफॉर्म पहन के आया था वो. So anyways, Ajit Doval went to US to talk about semiconductors. Now that's a good question. Manufacturing in India. Do you think we will get to manufacturing small quantities of latest fabs like in Taiwan, or mass production of older ones?
I I don't know. This is something which has come out. The Arjit Doval has gone. I have never heard this in black and white. Any case, who will speak to Ajit Doval about semiconductor? He's a security advisor. He should be. Look, one thing about USA, they are very clear what to talk and how to talk.
What to talk and
Eh,
what to put
Yeah,
out.
what to put out, and
See, people,
well, and semiconductor whole story in USA is not a state control subject.
yeah.
So we'll leave it at that. Yeah, no comments beyond this.
The best thing is, it is they're also doing a propaganda campaign against China, so they're going to use your
Yeah,
name for
it's
that
okay.
as well.
They'll will.
That's how it
I
is.
think we should give.
Yes,
We
sir.
should waste the.
The reason for fear China expects is prospects from them in the last 2 years, last 2 or 3 decades were less than if they were from Pakistan watchers.
Maybe I'll leave it at that.
No, that is true actually, sir. Quite a bit.
No, I'll not put it that way. I'll not denigrate them, but we'll leave it. Yeah.
The greatest success of Pakistan is to convince us and maintain that uh, it is our enemy. A lot has been achieved by ignoring their drama.
I don't think Pakistan has the time to think of these things. Right now they don't have food to eat. They don't have gas. They don't have petrol. Their banks are cleaned up. So they are in a different league altogether.
Sir
The new
Naveen, thank
league.
you so much. He says, sir, India doesn't mention China by name and downplays its tensions with China to avoid security alliance with USA for strategic autonomy. Does that also play a part?
I don't think so. I don't think it's a great issue. Uh, I mean, we can talk of all this, but I don't think so. You see, for some reason, whatever the reason is, India and China don't name each other
At all?
at all. So leave it at that.
And we keep asking our leadership to name, when has their leadership taken the name of India? Never.
Yeah,
It's the same thing. So
yeah.
there is, at the end of it, we both know that we are in the same neighborhood. We need to survive with each other. If
They
we
have,
both know
yeah.
at this point,
We, I agree with you.
yeah, yeah, sir. Also, the populations in Punjab and Bengal have a strong interpersonal trauma from the partitions, whose pain will take more time to heal.
Yeah, how long will it take? We are already in the third generation after that. Right? The most Bengalis I met don't know anything about East Bengal.
Mm. Generally speaking, yes, sir.
Mm.
For China, we don't know the language, different culture and misconceptions and misinformation we missed by many buses on technology, which China caught, and the loss of 62 was a psychological block. That's why we ignored it. Okay.
I don't think so. But then leave it at that. Let it pass.
Uh, Pakistan grows deep animosity culturally, whereas China manufactures
Yeah, this is a
animosity
nice one.
capacity.
That's
This
a
is a
nice
good
one.
one.
Yeah, good one.
That's actually a good one. Very well thought
Yeah,
of, I think. Manda says China is not that difficult to understand if studied from a systemic perspective.
yeah, I agree with you.
And the system needs to be kind of just doing it every day.
Every day.
I
You
mean,
have to just keep seeing the
have to,
newspaper every day. You get it.
and you'll find stuff making sense once you kind of read it. Initially, when I started, also it was very difficult because I used to try and translate stuff. This, that, it just so painful. But then you just start reading their newspapers, which are printed in English. You'll find them speaking, and then you'll kind of make sense of what they're saying.
Yeah.
John says, I find it difficult to motivate myself to follow anything Pakistan related after the two surgical strikes and 370. It's like nothing Pakistan does here after has any influence on India.
Yeah, to that extent, I agree with you. Pakistan's value to India or its uh, nuisance value to India has reduced tremendously, more so after Article 370.
Hmm.
So I agree with you, John.
But then, sir, there is what he's saying has also another little meaning, which I want to kind of talk about, is that the uh, the value of Pakistan, as per se, has been more towards because of the factor that the kind of incidents that used to happen, whereas China, the direct incidents were lesser,
Yeah, the violent level with Pakistan was higher, so
much
the
higher.
yeah, that's about all.
So I guess when the now the violence level with China is increasing pretty much every sometime there is some
Yeah, yeah,
incident,
yeah. They'll catch. It's a
it'll
matter of
catch on.
time.
Catch on, yes. But one thing I must say, sir, and this is just an observation, that a lot of people have started watching a lot of China based and a lot of China related news online. As you know, this person mentions here, China in Focus, NTD News, Crossroads with Joshua Phillip, and China Uncensored are great sources. Any other to follow and subscribe to? Our channel.
Our channel, and you'll get a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you should watch South China Morning Post. As Sir keeps talking about that. You can, read Asia Nikki. That covers quite a bit.
Yeah,
Read
Nikki Asia covers South, even not New York Post, New York Times covers quite a bit
New
of
York
that.
Times covers. Financial Times covers their a lot of their economy. So you can watch that. And if you're really interested in in-depth analysis and you want to get into this thing, then watch, read the China Daily. But then you gotta take it with a pinch of salt. So
Not a
that's
pinch, it's a bag of salt. I read it. I read China Delhi
the
also.
same as
Uh,
I read
then you
that
get,
PLA Daily
yeah,
also. You put me
uh,
on to that. PLA Delhi is interesting actually.
yeah.
That's how I came to know 22 ships were launched today
Hmm.
in
Oh,
the
the
Coast
bolta
Guard.
right.
Now, here is okay. Let me just twist this around for you and as a question. Sir, 22 ships in the Coast Guard. What does that tell you about the requirements, sir?
Look, one is all this is South China morning sea oriented. All this is gray zone oriented. This is all part of gray zone warfare. That's about all.
So, see, that's what it is. It's you have to take what they're saying and kind of bring it to perspective with what's happening around in the South China Sea or wherever the news is all about.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You have to connect too many dots with China
You'll kind
to
of
get.
find something making sense somewhere. I
Yeah,
mean, I look at it, and sir, please correct me if I'm wrong. I look at it as a Coast Guard because they have the threats coming closer to their home with the
yeah.
US bases and this and that. So they want to protect their coastline. And one of the largest parts of their navy is actually the Coast Guard.
Coast Guard.
So that tells you something. Pakistan is a riot with tanks and planes, and China is a spiritual war with a high certainty,
Well,
high
that,
uncertainty. That's
yeah,
interesting.
that's right.
Wonder what you read something? You're reading a poem or something like that, or you started writing a poem because you're coming up with these nice ones. Yeah. At a public level, don't you think the perception is changing? In a recent Morning Digest poll says Indians see USA and China as bigger threats than Pakistan.
Yeah, Pakistan stopped being a threat long back, and China is the biggest threat. There's no doubt. The fact that a lot of people see USA as a threat is a hangover. Okay, there are a
I
lot of
guess
people.
USA people look at it as a gray zone threat rather than a
No,
military
not a
threat.
gray zone threat. Not a military threat. It's a threat that it can undermine a lot of things in your system
Yeah,
and all that.
yeah,
So, and it's the deep distrust which USA can evoke in people. So I leave it at that.
no, that's an interesting observation, sir. China uses media and other influencers to set up a false narrative. Constant news is but dangerous.
Yes, I agree.
That is what we need to understand. Mr. Taurus reality, you've actually hit the nail on the head. A frustrated China will do this even more. As Sir said, South China Morning Post has been publishing some very sweet articles about India suddenly. I wonder why, sir. Suddenly, it's just,
No, no.
the.
Actually, yesterday and today the articles are very horrible. I mean, when
Yeah,
I say horrible, paint as negative a picture as they can about India.
yeah, and they're talking about, they're saying that was, as a matter of fact, Adani came up. They talked about press freedom in India, connecting it to BBC. They talked about religiosity in terms of the Hindu Muslim divide and
Yeah,
stuff
yeah,
like
there are
that.
a lot of things.
So they're touching your fault lines already.
Yeah.
That's something we need to acknowledge. Naveen, once again, thank you so much. Sir, India is taking center stage with G20 and SEO and our growing stage in the world. There is more traction on geopolitics in the masses. Do you see that gradually translating into China interest?
Yes, there is no doubt what you're saying because over a period of time, I find the interest people take about China is more, and the quality of questions which come up indicate to me that a lot of people are more aware of China than in the past. Okay, so there's no doubt on what you're saying.
That is
Fundamentally,
true, sir. Actually, if you look at it from our first videos when we started saying China is going to sink, people will say you're too far fetched. Today,
oh,
when
people
we
thought I was mad when where I said one day China will have a problem.
uh,
So, and it was not one day कि 50 साल के बाद होगा. I said next 4 5 years. If you remember 2 years back, the question which was posed to us, when will China come back on in Eastern Ladakh? At that time, I said never. And at that time, I said they'll be struck with virus, their economy will be down, X, Y, Z. That's happened. And that's happened because you studied China. If you don't study China, you'll Pakistan will still be sitting at our doorstep, and that's what we'll think. When China would have entered our rear door.
but we actually mentioned about Taiwan in one of our conversations,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah. We said we have. I mean, look, nothing which is happening today in the Sino-Indian framework is something we have not spoken about. It's just unrolling out like that.
I think Amay is also bringing out the same point about what you said, undermining capacity of the West, and that's understandable. That's true and understandable actually. He
See,
says,
the
"Don't
West. Let's be very clear. The West owes nothing to us. We owe nothing to the West.
nothing to the West."
They didn't help us at our time of need.
Yes.
We are convenient friends. That's it. We are friends of convenience, right?
Absolutely, sir. Absolutely. China is an aided growth, as Sir
Hmm.
had said some time back. So the
We,
USA kind
yeah,
of kept it up, brought it into the
yeah.
WTO.
Why
Into
China?
this.
China, Japan, Germany,
Yeah,
and almost the entire Europe was aided into growth. We were opposed, and yet we grew. So
we
we should
grew.
have no illusions about what's going to happen to us ahead.
And that's one of the reasons why the West keeps running back to us and saying, "Saab, बैठ जाओ हमारे साथ,
Yeah.
बैठ जाओ हमारे साथ," because they know we've got our own pathway and we'll do whatever we need to on our own. Sir, about water, the third pole for the glacier is in China's present. Tibet is strategically a threat to India, especially the 38,000 megawatt Zangban Dam at the Brahmaputra has long-term implications for water security. I think we've covered this, sir. But your
We
comments?
covered it. It's not a water security the way we think it is. So let's not. The climate change third pole is a different issue altogether.
No, there is. I mean, we've also, as a matter of fact, we spoke about this, and the next day the project came out. You remember?
Yep,
We spoke
I
about this
agree.
that we need to do a reservoir sort of a project and this and that. And the
And
next
we
day, the government announced a project.
announced the project.
Yeah.
It's not
So
that they announced it because of we said.
I hope so.
No, no, that wouldn't have happened because they would have announced the thinking was like that. It's logical thinking. If you logically think what you can do, this is what will come out.
And in hindsight, when we look at it, that there is a little bit of a challenge that these guys can put us into with regards to water. But if
No,
you
no, there's
handle
no
it
chance.
well, you can.
You can't. You will not have any problem.
Yes, sir. USA is willing to arm and support India against China. Why do they still think that they can control us like Pakistan?
See, you.
That's
I
a
think.
rhetorical,
No,
sir.
no, wait. It's not this way. Let's be very clear about this. India is. USA is willing to support India against China by giving arms, not free of cost, for a cost.
We will pay for them.
You pay for it, and you pay for it through your nose. Okay. So if you don't do that, USA will not support you beyond a point. So we have to learn how to stand on our own feet.
That's true.
Yeah. Next.
That's absolutely true, sir. And we won't even take from USA without money. So ask Adi, ask Sir. We should ignore Pakistan and focus on learning about China and increasing our capabilities and skilling in all domains and economy. Let's play the long game. So
Yeah, I agree with you. You have to play the long game. There's no doubt. But we must focus more on China. At the same time, let's not take our eyes off Pakistan.
he
Monitor
said it.
Pakistan and focus on China.
Yeah, I think that's the tagline for the day. I've been trying to find taglines for each one of the conversations, and this is the tagline for the day.
Yeah,
Monitor
monitor,
Pakistan, focus
focus
on
on
China.
China.
That's a tagline for the day. That's a big lesson, I think. Uh, does US arm twisting China every now and again hamper the actual purpose of Chinese world dominance? Let China alone for another 5 to 10 years, it might literally make USA run for its own money.
I don't know why how this has come. I don't think China is capable anymore of making USA run for its money. Okay, this is now proven. It is not one analysis; it's a multi-dimensional analysis. Whether it's from Japan, it's from Germany, or it's from other places, that the Chinese economy is going to struggle. It will never catch up with USA for the next 25 to 30 years. Okay, so that's where China is. If you put China in the correct perspective, it is handleable.
On a lighter note, Pakistan 1999 enemy, 2019 useless, 2023 entertainment, 229 NA.
Good imagination.
that's, that's interesting. I think it's a lighter comment. Uh, Naveen, thank you so much. Like you mentioned, China puts out info
Puts
in the
it.
gray zone. Do you think that also carries a risk if common Indian citizen reads and it unequipped with the required
Yeah,
filters?
that's a problem, and that's my effort when I started this Speak into Everyday China, so that the common Indian knows what's happening in China. I mean, it's unfiltered. It's the channel is not analysis; it's more informative with some analysis, and it's not interactive. I'm just it's one way, right? I'm not making it live for a long time to come.
But one of the things is the I think you've brought out a very interesting point, required filters, because that's what we see, that influence operations, and that's the main part of the Chinese strategy, is to influence their enemy. You're right, but if we don't read about China, that's even more dangerous. So
Yeah,
I'd rather have people read about it, kind of debate it, and realize it, rather than ignore it and one fine day realize, oh crap, what is this? Uh, because once you read China, will you be able to realize that every video that comes out as far as the information operation, you got to analyze it. It wasn't the case in Galwan. When Galwan incident happened, any video was taken as the gospel truth. Correct me if I'm
yeah.
wrong. Today, everybody said, no, 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 wait, hang on. ये China से आ रहा है, ठहर जाओ. So there is a learning. People do learn around it. And like the BBC thing, tomorrow if I quote BBC for anything, you'll get, wait, hang on, is he speaking the truth or not? So that's a thing. You lose credibility over time because you kind of mention the wrong thing. So it's an upside and a downside, sir.
Yep, I agree with you.
Uh, Last comment: we were heavily sanctioned and disrupted through our independent history, yet we survive and thrive. That is a constant source of fury
I
within the
agree
West.
with Nikesh on this. I've written an article on, and that article is titled "Geoeconomics of India's Rise." Okay, it was so strong that a couple of people said we can't publish it. Also, I said okay, I got it published somewhere else. That's a different story. But what you're saying is right. We have to be confident that we have gone through a hell of a lot to reach where we are. We can't give up.
Mandar is coming up with some interesting stuff. Park is a sharp, but China is a park. Poet review.
Thanks. Yeah,
You had it. You're really chilling out today, huh,
I think
Mandar?
we should stop. We should stop today's discussion with this
Yeah,
poetry.
it's good. But sir, on a parting note, I'd like you to kind of share a minute of advice with regards to reading China. How should a novice start analyzing, not analyzing, just reading China?
Look, you if you have to read China, just read whatever document, whatever you can lay your hands on China. Okay, read about Tibet, which is important for us because that gives you the connect between what's happening between India and China. A lot of history of India-China issue is around revolves around Tibet. So you read about Tibet, read a lot about Chinese history, and slowly you'll understand. You will see the connect between what's happened before and what's happening now.
Uh,
And you can't you can't beat reading.
Absolutely. Guys, Tibet, we did a fantastic show with Claude RP. Have a check at that. That's going to be a series. Every 2 weeks we're going to be doing one show with him. He's quite a busy person. He keeps traveling, so that's very interesting, and he's quite an authority, by the way, speaking on Tibet. So it's interesting. So I'm going to take this one last one. I think Venki Saab has put out a very interesting one. He said, if enemy is praising you despite being rattled by you, then you're on the right track.
Yeah, I agree with him, and that is the my tagline of that peak onto everyday China, where I've said India rising. If your enemy is bothered about you and is talking too much about you, then it means that look, he's worried.
That is critical for us to know, which
Yeah,
wasn't the case some time ago because they used to
sometime back.
literally consider it, a non-threat.
They didn't even feel it was worth covering Indian news at that time.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, sir. This has been interesting. Actually, this was a light subject. We didn't get into too much of depth because it's a conceptual subject. There's not much details you can talk about it. It's just a feeling that, I mean, sir had. Of course, I agree with that because sir and me have been trying to focus on towards China, on to nitty gritties of China. Please go to the playlist called China Watch. We've done so many shows on their economy, their society, their population, their culture, their system, their cities, and this and that whole lot of things. We've done in-depth dives into BRI and whole lot of China-related issues, and we've been doing it for quite a while. So that the reason that we wanted to do that is to kind of bring about that China discussion and take people away a little bit. Although we are also guilty about talking about Pakistan, but yeah, of course, we need to keep a track as we've come out with the show. Sir, thank you so much for joining, and it's a wonderful conversation on the India's obsession with Pakistan and the neglect of China, which we need to flip around now. Neglect or just monitor Pakistan and focus on China. Thank you so much, sir, and Jai Hind.
Thank you and Jai Hind.